Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report on Blog Talk Radio, streaming live on Blog Talk Radio right after WWE Bragging Rights, which was live tonight on pay-per-view, October 24, 2010. Damian Nelson coming here from the Pro Wrestling Report studios. Going to be joined in just a moment here by David Hero as well. And I want to thank all of you for joining us wherever you may be. This is a completely interactive program. Right now we're looking at your tweets on Twitter, where you mentioned PWR Show in your tweets. We're also looking at the chatmosphere at pwrshow.com. Go to pwrshow.com, log into the community section, and click on chatmosphere. We'll be referring those comments, and also our chat room on Blog Talk Radio. I want to welcome all of you joining us on Blog Talk Radio as well. Well, an eventful night from WWE and their latest pay-per-view offering, Bragging Rights. Overall, a good look and a good feel to the show, obviously highlighted by Smackdown versus Raw. Excellent opening contest. We'll talk much more about that matchup between Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan later on. A couple of unadvertised matches, one of them delivering new WWE Unified Tag Team Champions. And a crowd that was rabid in Minnesota, and Team Smackdown prevailing once again at Bragging Rights. We're going to be taking your phone calls as well. The number that you can reach us at is 347-996-5278. Again, that's 347-996-5278. If you want to participate via voice, just go ahead and make sure you let us know using the menu there on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be getting to your calls in the second half of the program, so just in about 20 minutes or so here. We're going to be referring to, as I said, all of your tweets and your comments across all the social media network sites. And joining us now is the man who booked this show on Friday's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime, or at least the way he would have booked it is what he communicated to all of you out there in the viewing world, David Octavius Hero. David, welcome.
My man, how are you?
Live. I am tremendous. Even considering the fact that apparently, and I didn't necessarily see it this way, but apparently The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, and Cody Rhodes all were attempting to get the attention of somebody out there, one of their fans at ringside, and that was misconstrued as them tapping out.
Well, The Miz didn't tap. He just got speared. But, yeah, Dolphy Z and your boy, the Dashing One, are now part of the Little Drummer Boy Club. Rat-tat-tapping all night long. And,
you're not going to be evil like this all night, are you?
No, you know what? Because I enjoyed the moment, and now it's over. So I just feel bad for you. I mean, geez, God, what a rough night for you. All three of your guys doing the JOB.
You know, things can't always come out perfectly, David Hero. At times, you know, you got to, on these off-month pay-per-views that don't really matter at the end of the day, you know,
right.
Sights are set. The Miz's and Cody's and Dolph's sights are set, of course, on the Survivor Series coming up next month, where apparently, David Hero, you still must either be Nexus or against us, even though Wade Barrett did defeat Randy Orton tonight, but did not capture the WWE Championship.
I mean, that you don't end a pay-per-view that was going so well and that was actually booked fairly decently with a DQ finish. I mean, like, that main event match had no fire in it whatsoever. I'm sitting there, I'm watching it, I'm thinking, Randy Orton doesn't even seem like the world champion. There was just nothing special about that match tonight, you know? And look at John Cena, a guy sitting outside around the ring, pouting. He just won the Unified Tag Team Championships. He has the big penny around his waist, and he wasn't even happy about it.
Not at all. Was he even wearing the big penny when he came down?
No, he was not.
I don't think he did. Yeah.
No, but you know what? It could have been great if they would have listened to me on Friday and just let Wade Barrett be the new world champion. They could have had something special. They could have had Nexus be the world or the the Unified Tag Champ and the WWE Champ all in one night, going into Survivor Series really strong. And instead, they kept the belt on Randy Orton, the guy that doesn't need it.
Right. And is weird with it, in my opinion, being a face. He didn't smile so much tonight, though. But a couple of comments on Twitter about the main event tonight. Ty1822 is the username, saying, it was a good pay-per-view. Did Russo book the ending of Orton-Wade? I, like Frank would say, pay-per-views should not have disqualifications. And Chill Mascara saying it was too soon for Orton to drop the belt after winning it. So a lot of opinions out there about this particular main event matchup one, and at the end of the day, I'm not sure what it did, because what sense does it make, David Hero, that John Cena not only attacks Wade Barrett, as we talked about, but also attacks all the members of Nexus? I mean, I get it.
Well, no,
it doesn't make sense.
It made sense that he attacked Nexus by saying, hey, if he's disqualified, he loses. So he kind of covered himself there, but it lost all the steam. I mean, now there's no reason for a rematch, really. Randy Orton, he left as champion, and Wade Barrett won by DQ, and now there's nothing special about a rematch. The only way they can make it interesting is if it's a triple threat where it's John Cena and Wade Barrett against, Cena versus Barrett versus Orton. That's how they can make it interesting next month at the Survivor Series.
But it was all wrapped up in a loophole tonight, though, right? Because all Barrett did was maintain and ensure that John Cena would assist him winning the matchup, and John Cena did that.
Yes, he did. I didn't like the finish. I think they made a big mistake. But you know what? I liked how they booked the rest of the show.
Well, our
that
Twitter
made sense.
Twitter user by the name of Dave the Mark may have been able to sum it up in a statement saying bragging rights was a night full of great wrestling and commentary, also some surprises. But there was a horrible finish that worried my good mood.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we talk about now is the end of the pay-per-view.
Yep.
I mean, the opening match was great. A nice surprise having Nexus win the tag belts. But that all seems to be forgotten because we got a crappy finish tonight.
User in the chat room on Blog Talk Radio, and welcome the couple of hundred of you that are there, by the name of Brian89525 asks the question, how come the last Sunday of October is the only night of the year SmackDown is better than Raw? Well, and then referring to that, Team SmackDown victorious again, so the trophy sits in General Manager Teddy Long's office for another year. It was The Miz ultimately losing as the captain of his team to Edge. Team SmackDown winning after Team SmackDown started off not doing very well at all in that matchup.
I thought the match was fairly entertaining. I did tweet out earlier that the only guy that looked strong, well, two guys looked strong. Edge looked amazing tonight in the match. And then so did Sheamus. He got 2 big wins, 2 eliminations, and was counted out. He was one of the only guys, besides the winners, obviously, that didn't have his shoulders on the mat along with the Big Show. So they protected Big Show and Sheamus in their big bragging rights match. And Edge looked great. And it's only fitting that Edge got the last laugh on The Miz after The Miz, took care of him on Raw before he left for SmackDown, then with the Smurfette comment. And in the end, Edge gets the victory for Team SmackDown.
A good matchup, one that saw Tyler Rex, Ezekiel Jackson, and R-Truth stay in the match a lot longer than I would have anticipated going into it. I'm not sure if it really did anything for any of them at the end of the day, but they were out there a lot longer than what I expected to be quick eliminations for them.
I think it did a lot for Tyler Rex. He finally got to be showcased a little bit. He looked good. He's got a great look. And obviously they feel that there's some money to be made off of him because, they did put him in a huge match tonight. I mean, unfortunately for Santino, he was the first guy gone. But I think Tyler Rex has potential down the road to be something special.
And as we talk about Santino hugely popular in the wrestling community, in the internet wrestling community, very comedic. He can wrestle, by the way, but should he ever? I mean, should he ever be out there winning matches on a regular basis, getting a streak, if you will, or would that diminish his somewhat comedic persona?
It'd be nice to see him get a little bit of a run there, but now it's to the point where no one takes him seriously that you wouldn't believe it anyhow. Santino is the guy that I could see him being that company for the next 10 years and just doing what he's doing. I mean, He's not beating up his body, so he's always going to be, fairly healthy, and the crowd loves him. He's the perfect PG kind of guy that they need.
Yeah. Well, this pay-per-view was featured on the Smackdown side of things by the Buried Alive matchup for the World Heavyweight Championship, The Undertaker versus Kane. Some pretty surprising things happening in this match as well, David Hero. The Undertaker not able again to defeat Kane. Kane wins by burying The Undertaker, but, David, I was very surprised at the involvement of Nexus, including Wade Barrett, attacking The Undertaker, putting him in the grave, and then Kane getting rid of Nexus, telling them to get out of there as if he was not involved in having them participate, and burying The Undertaker, who seemingly was sent to his grave after that huge story last night, the face-off between The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. And, David, we're going to talk about that Tuesday night when we return to ESPN Radio this week, because that story is developing rapidly and will, I would think, develop a little further by Tuesday, where we can talk a little bit more educatedly about, is that even a word, educatedly?
Sure, it is tonight.
Now it is? About that situation between Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. But Kane winning that matchup with the help of Nexus, David Hero, not the way you booked it on Be the Booker Friday, but I'm not sure anybody could have predicted this.
Whoa, wait a minute.
The Nexus involvement I'm talking about.
Well, I picked the winner, didn't I?
You did pick the winner, and you also
That's
had
all
a
that matters.
that night. Yeah, but Nexus, I just don't get it. I don't understand. I like where it's going, and we saw that Survivor Series commercial featuring Wade Barrett. Very well done Survivor Series commercial till the end. But what could this mean?
Tonight, they booked Nexus to be a powerhouse. With the exception of the main event, that screwed the whole thing up. Nexus comes in, they're the new World Tag Team Champions, then they come out and they destroy The Undertaker. They put their thumbprint all over this pay-per-view, which is what they've been which is what they've had to do for the longest time, and now they're finally doing it.
Sorry about that. I was reading some of the comments.
And you know what else is interesting too?
What's
Brock
that?
Lesnar lost to Kane,
Mm-hmm.
and Undertaker lost to Kane. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
So when it's Lesnar versus Taker, who knows what's going to happen?
Well, win it. What are you doing? Let's not get ahead of ourselves there. I'm still on a different side of that fence right now.
Okay,
but
don't get hot about it.
Layla wrestling, Natalya. Layla retains the Divas Championship. Not much to discuss about that match, except for the fact that it was Layla again participating, Michelle McCool getting involved and ensuring that LayCool retains the the Divas Championship, and also throwing a little bit of jab at Brett Favre as they were in Minnesota at the Target Center. Minnesota Vikings obviously playing the Green Bay Packers tonight. I don't know if did that game finish, David Hero?
Not yet, not at all.
But very hot crowd in Minnesota. They were not at all interested in that football game because they were tuned in and rocking the joint at the Target Center, and they, however many thousand of them, made this pay-per-view that much better by their involvement.
Well, when you come to the Midwest towns, they love their wrestling, unlike the people in Orlando. So, I'm just saying.
Right.
But you know what? I did like the Divas title match. I thought Layla and Natalya had a very solid match. I liked the finish. It kind of came out of nowhere. And Layla has improved quite a bit, but also let's not forget that Natalie Neidhart also did help carry her to a great match. And the person that comes to beat LayCool to win that Divas title, it's going to mean something because LayCool is beating everybody. You got to wonder when Beth Phoenix is going to come back and grab that belt back from those two.
This event also featured one title change, and that was the Tag Team Championships, as we alluded to earlier, but didn't really give specifics on. Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre come out saying that nobody wants to face them. Well, we get a GM email via Michael Cole, who then says that they will be defending the tag titles. Out comes Wade Barrett, and he announces that it will be David Otunga and John Cena. And at that point,
clapped. I love that. I mean,
really?
It was perfect. Oh, you know why? Because it just shows that yes, they're gonna go forward and invest in the Nexus. And I knew it was gonna be John Cena was gonna be one of them because let's face it, Cody and Drew McIntyre, they don't mean a whole lot as a tag team. So let's take the belts off them, put it on Nexus, just have some controversy within Nexus over the belts, and the team that then beat Cena and Otunga, it'll mean that much more for them. But I'm sure you were rather distraught when you heard all that tapping on your boy Cody Rhodes.
When they said it was going to be John Cena and David Otunga taking on the Tag Team Champions, wasn't it obvious at that moment that they were going to lose the belts?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thus I had time to prepare.
But it was great. I mean, you know what? It was creative.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
I was like, you know what? For me, I mean, yeah, sure, it's one-sided, but it just made sense. I mean, I've been complaining for the longest time, okay, let's elevate Nexus, let's make them worth the money you're investing into them, and they started doing that tonight.
It took them about 3 months, maybe 4, though?
Well, yeah, I mean, after the whole SummerSlam debacle, it took a while to, rebuild that Nexus brand.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report, interactive live. We're live on Sunday night, October 24, 2010, right after WWE's bragging rights on pay-per-view. We want to thank all of you for listening to us here live. David Hero, we are one of the most popular live sports shows on Blog Talk Radio. Just got some new data from Blog Talk Radio a little while ago, and the numbers are very good. And we want to make sure you have the opportunity to catch a show whenever the show is on. So be sure to mark this show as a favorite. Do it right now. Mark this show as a favorite on Blog Talk Radio, and also follow us on Blog Talk Radio and on Twitter. Our Twitter username is PWR Show, and we're going to be getting to a lot of your comments and summary of this show, WWE's bragging rights, in just a little while. We're also going to be going to your phone calls in just a few minutes, about 8 minutes actually. We'll start taking your phone calls. The number 347-996-5278. Again, that's 347-996-5278. David Hero, a lot of people saying that tonight's opening matchup at WWE bragging rights may have been one of the best matchups on a WWE pay-per-view this year, certainly the match of the night. Some even saying match of the year, but I think that needs a little time to bake before anybody can put that to it. But it was Dolph Ziggler, the best bumper in the business, going up against Daniel Bryan.
Well, he went from being best bumper to best tapper as far as I'm concerned, but that was a really good match.
As long as you're the best at it.
Hey, as long as you're the best at something, that's all that matters.
Right.
But that was a great match. I mean, they worked hard, and they kind of set the tone for the whole night. I was thoroughly impressed with that match,
Surprised
and,
as well?
Surprised?
Yeah.
No, I mean, you were there when we booked the show.
No.
I was all about the DVD.
Here's the thing. That match was given time. It went about 15 to 17 minutes, I believe. That's very rare. Very rare from WWE. And keep in mind what they've done to Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan over the last few weeks. They really haven't given them much spotlight. And then to have them pretty much shine as far as wrestling goes on this night, I think was very surprising to a lot of fans, including this fan, and was a great way to open the pay-per-view.
It just goes to show when you give talented guys like DBD and Dolphy Z time, they can put on a great match. And that's what they did tonight.
Another great matchup, which I don't think got as much praise as it should have, was Ted DiBiase versus Goldust. Goldust, just undervalued, I think, in WWE, especially also out there in the WWE universe amongst the fans. But him and Ted DiBiase, it was a little bit of a silly ending to the matchup, but they put on, I thought, a good wrestling contest as well tonight.
Whoever would have thought Goldust would be back on pay-per-view again? You know what I'm saying? Amazing.
Now, did he headline, or was he in one of the headlining matchups at WrestleMania 12 with that whole White Bronco, Roddy Piper street fight thing?
No, he wasn't headlining. He was in one of the, special events on the show. But
a new category now, special events.
Yeah, a special attraction. But what's interesting is when Goldust first came in as Dustin Reynolds, he teamed with his daddy, Dusty, against Ted DiBiase and Virgil. Kind of funny how now it's like, now Goldust Dustin Reynolds is feuding with Ted DiBiase Jr. See, it's amazing how things come full circle.
Yeah, and they typically do, including that lightning bolt to the Undertaker's grave. A couple of people on Twitter helped me out with that. I guess it was back in 1996 where we saw them do the exact same thing. I don't know what that was supposed to symbolize, though. That didn't make much sense to me. It's like, was he, because last time he came back from the grave, I think. This time, I don't know, was it the final nail in the coffin, the final load of dirt on the grave, the final writing on the tombstone? I guess we'll find out soon as it pertains to that.
Taker needs some time off. This is what he does every year. It's always around this time of year he takes off until Royal Rumble or No Way Out or something like that.
David Hero, your overall thoughts on tonight's WWE Bragging Rights pay-per-view?
I liked it a lot. I would have said pay-per-view of the year if they would have had the right finish for that main event, because they built things up the right way until the disqualification in the main event.
Pay-per-view of the year, that's a bold statement. I respect your opinion.
I said it could have been.
No, and I'm going to question you saying it could have been, because I still think Money in the Bank was better, and, of course, WrestleMania had better moments.
But
we don't have to decide that now. I'm just
no. You like Money in the Bank because The Miz won, and now you don't like tonight because The Miz lost. But at the end
we're
of
out
the
of
day,
time. David Hero, I understand you got to go. You got to get ready for.
Yes, I do.
Tuesday night, we're going to be at Smackdown in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's going to be at the Bradley Center. That should be an interesting event. Did you get the catering tickets?
Yes, it's all taken care of.
Tremendous.
We're all good to go.
It's going to be live right after on 540 ESPN. David Hero, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday night's radio show. And you can check out, every week on PWR Primetime Television, we do a segment called, or right before pay-per-views, we do a segment called Be the Booker. And it's one where we predict, and I predict anyways, and David Hero books the upcoming pay-per-view show. So you can go ahead and check that out and see what we may have gotten right and what we may have gotten wrong about tonight's WWE Bragging Rights on pay-per-view. We're going to go to your phone calls in just a minute, but first I want to get to all the many comments that are coming in all across our media channels. Firstly, in our Twitter account. And our Twitter username is PWR Show. A couple of comments there. Dave the Mark, we read that actually, he says, Bragging Rights left WWE with a possible new top brand and a Nexus run on both Raw and SmackDown. Tonight felt sort of like the 90s, from the Taker match to the feuds. I would say that feeling of the 90s, Dave the Mark on Twitter, I would say that feelings of the 90s may have come from that crowd in Minnesota who I think WWE might need to pay them for coming as opposed to them paying to go to that show. And I mean that because they added so much to it. So kudos to the Minnesota crowd. I was actually in the Target Center for SummerSlam 99, and that certainly was not the same atmosphere that was there tonight, at least on TV. Vibrant Vonified says, do you think the tag titles will be under Freebird rules? Well, perhaps, hopefully, because things are always much more interesting when any member of a group can defend the titles. We see that with Lay Cool with the Divas Championship as well. BMOC says, do you think Bragging Rights viewership will be down like every other pay-per-view has been so far because of the NFL? I would say it certainly did have an impact, especially in Chicago, in the Milwaukee and Minnesota areas, due to the Packers-Vikings game. And that game, I think, is just ending in a little while here. It looks like 28-24, Green Bay over Minnesota with about a minute left in the fourth. But, yeah, I think it certainly had an impact. And I actually mentioned earlier this evening, I think that had they really looked at their October pay-per-view schedule and just gave this the title of Halloween Havoc with the multi-billion-dollar business that is Halloween, I think they can gain several thousand buys just on the title alone. But then again, what do I know? Continuing to go through some of our Twitter accounts, Twitter comments rather. Martin Hab saying the tag match did not make sense to them. Some talk about Brock Lesnar and Undertaker by Real Deal LA508. Basically the same comments David Hero made earlier. Lesnar defeated by Kane. Taker defeated by Kane. And is Kane associated with Nexus? Another question we got. Don't know the answer to that. We did speculate a bit on it earlier. And BMOC, who we referenced earlier, said, again, I wish Santino wouldn't be such a jobber. He has so much charisma. Could have been so much more. Bart5901 saying, I think WWE Bragging Rights was an excellent show. Scuba 2100. It wasn't Team Raw versus SmackDown. It was more like Team WWE CW versus SmackDown. Big Daddy D88 saying the Nexus interfering in Kane and Taker's match was 100% stupid to me. And the comments continue, many, 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 many more on Twitter, and we'll be retweeting out a bunch of those comments later on. And, again, some comments about Spirit Squad, actually, in our chat room on Blog Talk Radio and our chat room at pwrshow.com. Well, there's a lot being said there, trying to get my hands around that, but we can get back to that in a minute. But let's go to a phone call. That's easy. Let's go to a caller who we will identify by area code. So, caller, once we say your area code, please tell us your name and where you're calling from. And let's first go to a caller from the 210 area code. Caller from the 210 area code. You are live. You're in the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive Live. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Justin calling from San Antonio, Texas. How you doing tonight?
I'm tremendous. Justin, right?
Yeah, Justin.
All right. What did you think of WWE's bragging rights on pay-per-view?
Overall, it was a very good show, especially an opening contest with Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler. I don't want to get too much into that because, that match was, probably, I would say, probably the top 10 best matches this year so far. But overall, pay-per-view was pretty good, though. Kind of questioning the ending, though, with Randy Orton and Wade Barrett. It made sense in a way, but they should have booked it, another way. Also, as well, at this point forward, it looks like Nexus is going to be built pretty strong. I mean, they got the tag team titles now, and they'll be going into the Survivor Series now, looking pretty strong.
All very well made points. I will say that they could have gone a number of different ways with that Orton-Barrett matchup. This might have been one of the safest ways to go. I'm not saying anybody should have liked it, but, it wasn't, I don't think anybody was expecting. And,
and
it
that
does ultimately,
yeah.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. At the end of the day, it makes sense. I mean, it's like, okay, it's logical.
Absolutely. Because also as well, if Barrett would have won, it would have been too soon for him to have the title. If Randy Orton would have lost, then what was the point for him to win the title back in Night of Champions? So it'll be pretty much pointless. Let Randy Orton get a little bit of a reign, then let probably maybe a triple threat match at Survivor Series possibly. As Dave Hero said, but it's gonna be very interesting. So begin tomorrow night.
And overall, pass or fail for the pay-per-view?
It's definitely a pass. Definitely a pass.
All right. Thank you very much for calling, Justin, down in San Antonio. Let's go to another caller who is calling from the 320 area code. Caller from the 320 area code. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is John from Hutchinson, Minnesota.
John, how are you from Minnesota?
Good. I was at the pay-per-view. I'm driving home even as we speak.
You deserve praise and you deserve accolades for the amazing way that the Minnesota crowd came off on television tonight. You guys seem to be having a great time in the Target Center for WWE bragging rights.
Yeah, it was definitely a hot crowd from the beginning. I mean, when I came in, the dark match was going on, and the crowd was hot for that one, like it was the headlining main event. Overall, it was a great pay-per-view. I mean, the one thing that definitely surprised me and came across was huge cheers for CM Punk, probably because of how he ripped into the Chicago White Sox at the last pay-per-view. But and I'm trying to think what else.
Well, I mean,
it was.
You mentioned
I'll give it a pass, definitely.
Yeah, and you mentioned the opening matchup, and a couple of things that were noted tonight from the fans, much like yourself that were there. We had a "This is awesome" chant. We had a "We want blood" chant. We had several chants, "Fire Cena." We had several chants that really you rarely hear at a WWE crowd. Was it the excitement of that opening contest? Were you all surprised by just how great Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan's match was? And did that continue throughout the evening? Or was there just something in the air in the Target Center tonight?
I think it was something in the air of possibly trying to vie for another pay-per-view or what have you, because I could see WWE coming with the idea that this is going to be a cold crowd. Their mind is going to be on Vikings, Packers. They're going to be texting their friends. They're not going to care. But they came in and it was just like, we haven't had a pay-per-view here since 2005 Judgment Day. Let's make this one to remember.
And did they do that for you?
I would say yes. I mean, it was a fun show. I mean, crowd was iffy with the Nexus Undertaker ending, but I mean they enjoyed that. And
now, did you? Speaking of that ending, did you see the lightning bolt?
Didn't see a lightning bolt. What they? I mean, I saw the projection on the stone, but the thing in the back they actually had was one of Kane's fire pyrotechnics that shot up from the back.
Oh yeah, but that lightning gimmick they use, it's actually very clever the way they do it. The live audience, what they do is look like on TV, at least the lightning bolt came from the top of the arena and hit the tombstone, which would then cause the fire pots to go off. But they do all that. That's an overlay kind of thing.
Yeah, the kids were just looking like, oh, it's Kane's pyro. Okay.
Very, very nice. Well, overall, best moment of the night at the WWE Bragging Rights pay-per-view at the Target Center for you watching live.
For me, of course, it would have to be Ziggles and Daniel Bryan.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, well, it was that good. I mean, everything from mat base to the flying from Daniel Bryan. I mean, just showed athleticism and showed that if you don't rush the beginning and give them time, it'll be entertaining. I mean, and not to mention, I mean, the heat with Vicky Guerrero, and the only person I will just say who rivaled her in terms of heat, this was before the pay-per-view, Michael Cole.
Yeah.
That place was thunderous with boos, even also when he was reading the announcement, I could not hear what he was saying, even though people tried to go along. It was funny, there was even people going along line-wise with him going, and I quote, I mean...
Michael Cole is over. I mean, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, Michael Cole is absolutely over. And you did not even have the joy of hearing the banter between Michael Cole, Matt Stryker, and Jerry Lawler tonight, which was well done.
Especially, I'm probably going to definitely try to invest in the DVD when that comes out.
Yeah, and they don't take long nowadays. I think it's less than a month when they put those things out nowadays. But totally appreciate you giving us a call on the ride home from WWE Bragging Rights on pay-per-view. John up in Minnesota. And good luck. It looks like the game might still... Oh, no, the final. Well, sorry about that. But anyways, thanks for calling in, John up in Minnesota, talking about his live experience at WWE Bragging Rights. And the chat discussion continues at both of our chat rooms. We have one going on at Blog Talk Radio and also one at our website, pwrshow.com. Some comparisons being made right now on our Blog Talk Radio chat room between Bound for Glory and WWE Bragging Rights. We're going to actually have that poll available at our website, pwrshow.com, so you can decide what the best pay-per-view for the month of October was. One thing I will tell you is I would say that both companies did do some good storyline progression on both those pay-per-views, whether it be Bound for Glory earlier this month or WWE Bragging Rights tonight. We've got about 10, 12 minutes remaining here in the show. We're going to be live again with you on Tuesday night, special Tuesday night edition, as we continue to work our schedule around that of the Major League Baseball playoffs here in the States. And once that's done, we should be back on our regular night, hopefully back on our regular Monday night time slot on 540 ESPN. But this week we will be Tuesday. And our guest on Tuesday to start the show is the second half, a much more revealing half of the Kurt Angle interview. And if you checked out the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time this week, you found the first half of that interview with Kurt Angle, where Kurt has a lot of things to say about John Cena, Hulk Hogan, Dixie Carter, AJ Styles, and several others. And this is one you certainly want to tune into. This coming Tuesday, we're going to start the show with Kurt Angle, our guest on ESPN Radio. If you'd like to call into this particular program, you can. The number is 347-996-5278. Dave the Mark on Twitter says this, reference a comment we made earlier. Spirit Squad, looking back, did you ever imagine that little Mikey would have the best match on a pay-per-view as the Intercontinental champion? Absolutely not. Let's go to a caller now in the 203 area code. Caller, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Damien. This is Tim from Connecticut. Good to talk to you again.
Hey, good to talk to you as well. What did you think of WWE Bragging Rights?
You know, I liked it. I pretty much agree with most people in saying that Bryan and Ziggler was match of the night, and, you know, the main event was a little oddly booked. But I really enjoyed.
You put it nicely.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the interpromotional tag match. I think they made the people that needed to look strong with the Miz getting to the end and Sheamus getting counted out. You know, they continued the Del Rio Mysterio storyline. You know, Edge finally got what it seems like he hasn't got a meaningful win in quite a while, so I think that was good for him. And you know, I thought everything was well done. I mean, if I had to give it sort of a letter grade, I'd probably give it a strong B.
A strong D or B?
B.
Okay, good. So a passing grade.
Yeah, for sure. But just two questions once you get to the other callers. What do you think? I mean, do you think that Lay Cool? I'm probably going to be the only person calling about this match, but do you think they can stretch out that team until WrestleMania and then maybe have one turn face and one, you know, turn on the other, and maybe have those two go at it at WrestleMania?
I think so, but I also think they are extremely popular right now. Maybe not for, people aren't cheering for them, but people are. That's a contributing factor to the overall show. That's a good thing for WWE right now, having Lay Cool together. So I think they may continue down that path for quite a while.
Yeah, I think they are money, but I mean, I think I don't know. I see like some sort of face value in Layla. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And then last question here. I'll just get out of here. Do you think that the interpromotional match? I did say I enjoyed it. It's probably my favorite match on the card, other than the Ziggler and DVD match.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think having that on this pay-per-view so close to Survivor Series sort of takes a little bit of luster out of that pay-per-view with the, you know, long-term gimmick of the 5-on-5 elimination matches?
There's two ways, and thanks for that call. Appreciate it. There's two ways you can look at that. Either it's going to remind people that the Survivor Series is coming up and give them a reason to tune into it, or it will potentially diminish what the Survivor Series is. Now, it's not a safe assumption to assume that the Survivor Series is going to be traditional elimination style as it has been in past years. It seems like it may be going that way, especially with Nexus being involved, but we'll see what happens next month. Great call. Thank you very much for that call out in Connecticut. Let's go to our next caller who's calling from what it looks like the 289 area code. Caller from the 289 area code, please, your name and your location.
Hey, Damien, my name's Adam from Oshawa, Ontario, Canada.
Adam, how are you, sir?
Good, yourself?
I couldn't be better, even though The Miz and Cody and Dolph lost tonight. But what did you think of WWE bragging rights?
You know, I always seem to stream the ones that are always really good and always pay money for the ones that aren't very good. I'm really getting tired of this.
Karma. That's karma.
I know. I think it is. But overall, I was really, really impressed with bragging rights. I mean, the opening match, everyone's going to praise it, obviously. Probably one of the top 3 pay-per-views of the year WWE has produced, at least so far, other than WrestleMania, and Fatal 4-Way is actually my other favorite one, personally.
Yeah, that was a good show.
I was a little disturbed thinking of the Nexus coming in and, like, attacking the Undertaker and joining this, you know, feud going on with Kane and Taker. But do you think originally I was thinking with the whole Nexus and John Cena thing, like, they're going to push Barrett versus Cena possibly at WrestleMania, but do you think it's a possibility with now Wade Barrett maybe in the Undertaker, or what is your opinion?
You know, this thing got a whole lot dirtier last night. I don't know if you heard about this whole thing between the Undertaker and Brock Lesnar.
I watched the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think that the Undertaker might end up being otherwise occupied at the pay-per-view. So I think if this can go that far, which it might be able to, Cena, Barrett at Mania could make some sense. Now, let's not forget, and what we didn't point out, Barrett was strong in that matchup tonight, whether we like the result of the match at all or not. Him and Ford put on a good match. Oh, you're one of very few.
No, I thought it made a lot of sense. I mean, I thought the commentators, like you were saying tonight, they were spot on with absolutely everything they were talking about and saying the whole, John Cena's taking away the Nexus members because he doesn't want Barrett to get disqualified. As soon as they came out there and they're like, you must help me win this match, I'm like, oh, there's your clause right there. He's going to get him DQ'd. He's going to push the thing a little bit more. Because as good as Barrett is, and everybody really likes him, especially on the mic and as a leader, he doesn't need the belt just yet because his role is to help further along his feud with John Cena and continue the Nexus versus WWE.
I would agree, but I think that could be a match that goes all the way through the holidays, because you got some time not off, but some time where people won't be paying as much attention, and can make it all the way to WrestleMania. And you don't even have to make it all the way to March or whatever it is next year. You just got to get to the Royal Rumble, because that's when WrestleMania really pretty much gets set up anyways. But Adam, overall, it sounds like you give this show a pass, huh?
Easily a pass. Probably, like I said, one of my top 3 favorite pay-per-views of the year from WWE. It's been one hell of a month of pro wrestling, at least in my opinion, in the month of October. So hopefully it continues next year like this. Hopefully,
and typically though, what we've seen from either company is they can't maintain any kind of momentum. So hopefully they will do so now and keep us wrestling fans engaged and all that. So thank you very much for calling, Adam from Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. Let's go to our next caller. We're going to go to a caller from the 832 area code. Caller, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive Live.
Yo, what up, dog? It's me, Ricardo from Houston.
Hello, Ricardo from Houston. How are you, sir?
I am just great. How are you?
Tremendous, with a hash mark in front of it. What did you think of WWE's bragging rights on pay-per-view tonight?
The opening match stole the show. As everybody's going to say, it was such a great match. The spots were great. There weren't as many as that ridiculous Motor City Machine Guns, the Generation Me match that opened up for Glory. That stole the show for me. Other than that, it was a pretty good show. I was personally shocked when the Nexus music came on and when the GM came on and said, "Here's a tag team you're going to face."
Shocked like, wow. Because Cody and Drew lost, right? Because you didn't expect that because they're such a great team. I understand.
Yeah, that was it, then.
Overall, sounds like you would give this pay-per-view a passing grade.
Of course. The only thing is the ending. I mean, I see where the loophole came in, but like Hero said, you gotta get way better the title. I mean, make that group even stronger. Give them 3 belts so that.
Yeah, well,
whatever. Yeah.
And really, when they won those tag straps, I thought that was the direction it was going in. But remember, wrestling's dirty little secret, especially when it comes to WWE, it is extremely rare to not end the pay-per-view giving the fans somewhat what they want, meaning leaving them happy. And knowing that the Buried Alive match wasn't ending it, granted Kane won that, knowing that it was going to be buried and Cena at the top of the card, you sort of figured that somehow or another, Orton would be the man leaving with the title held high, some way, some form.
One last thing before you let me go.
Yeah.
This pay-per-view to me was overshadowed by the Brock Lesnar Undertaker rumors at WrestleMania to me.
Yeah. Now, we're going to talk about that much more on Tuesday. Keep in mind, it is just a rumor right now, and there are a lot of people reporting on it. What we know is what's fact, and look at the video, decide for yourself, the video of the Undertaker and Brock Lesnar's confrontation last night. And I'm not one who believes that there wasn't a little more to it. I'm not going to speculate yet on what that more may be, but I would be extremely surprised if the UFC were working with WWE. But keep in mind, Shane McMahon left the company and has been reportedly, potentially, possibly working with mixed martial arts, maybe with the UFC as well. This could be a long-term plan that has been in the works for a while. Again, I'd be extremely surprised if it were, but that is something that has the wrestling world abuzz right now as to what could be.
One can only hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for that call, Ricardo. It's always great talking to you, and unfortunately we are out of time, but we will be back coming up on Tuesday night, as I said, Tuesday, with the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. It seems like this is an overwhelming pass grade for this pay-per-view. Seems like you all liked it. People not big on the finish for the main event, but overall, pay-per-view was solid, and I would tend to agree with that. We're going to discuss it in much more detail coming up this Tuesday night on our ESPN radio show. We have a brand new edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Television coming up this Friday. And remember, right now on demand at PWRshow.com is this week's PWR Primetime Television. Our guest is Kurt Angle. Always a great conversation with Kurt, and we'll have the second half of that conversation on Tuesday's ESPN radio show. I want to thank all of you for calling in, and thank you for being a part of the program and following us on Twitter and engaging us via your comments and calls. This is the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report, live, Blog Talk Radio, talking about WWE bragging rights.